Hey gentlemen, this is Vince Miller. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, given the events of last night, I figured it would be appropriate to give some kind of response today to this leaked Scotus draft document that has kind of turned the world and news upside down today. And I especially thought it would be effective to speak directly to you as a Christian man. You know, I speak to Christian men all the time about one thing. I speak to them about our apathy to God's will, because I believe it was our apathy to God that led to the very first sin and really every sin thereafter. Today, I believe we live in a sinful world because men have been apathetic to God. Yet I know this: God designed us for action. In fact, Adam, the very first man, was given the opportunity for action. He was given authority and voice and a moral rule by God so that he would act. Yet, at the moment his leadership was needed the most, he said nothing and did nothing in the face of injustice and sin. He just sat there and didn't speak when temptation was upon him and his family. Therefore, over many years, as I have spoken to Christian men, I've tried to help them to speak and live differently, which is to live in obedience to God and His law. But the place obedience has to begin is with us, right? We must speak and act against our own propensity to sin. That's where it all begins. We begin by submitting our desires to the leading of the Spirit and keeping in step with God's Spirit and His will, not our own. The second thing we have to do is we must address sin by teaching biblical truth within our family. Within our family, that's it. And if men did both of these things on a regular basis, we would have a very different world. I mean, just imagine it for a moment. Think about it. If Adam had done this in the garden, he might have significantly impacted that dreaded moment in Genesis chapter 3. But he, like every man, was apathetic to God because of his selfish desires. Therefore, what we have in this world are broken men, broken families, and a broken world, not governed by God's law. So hear me in this. The law that I follow is not legislated by Scotus. The Supreme Court of the United States of America does not determine what is right and wrong for me as a Christian man. There's only one who does. That's God. And I follow His law. So while I might be elated at some of the wording in a recent leaked draft document, what that might mean for states' rights, and the rights of the unborn, by the way, because I believe abortion is an atrocity, I'm not going to put my faith in Scotus or the men and women of that court, or their rulings in the coming months. I still believe heaven has a divine court and a more just judge and a holy government led by a man in whom I put my faith. That man's name is Jesus. So fellas, here are a few things you could do to speak up and act out as God's man today, giving some of the events of last night. First, in the coming days, don't let the media blizzard sway you toward putting your faith in a human government or human judges or human legislation or humanism. Put your faith only in Jesus. He is the only judge. Second, start speaking up and acting out for righteousness in your own life and lead your family to do the same. The impact of this action over a lifetime is significant. Third, maybe it's time for you to find a reasonable, sound, and biblical answer to the injustice of abortion. If you don't have one, you should. And you should study to show yourself approved. And I would ensure that you find a way to talk about this in a loving way with others that could potentially lead another person to know Jesus Christ. Fellas, thanks for joining me today. I hope this has blessed you. If it has, share it with someone you know. And with that, I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.